Hey, yeah, funny. What's going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in this late night show that's later than usual because hey, I was watching wrestling. I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. I was like, you know what? I'm watching wrestling. I would do this after wrestling because I don't want to miss this. All right, this John Cena's final tour. But in any event, hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to everybody in the comments. Maui, Maddie, hey, one of my favorite people, R. Royster with the looking eyes. That's why I was laughing. I was laughing because of you. But I was laughing because of you. But anyway, hey, welcome to the channel. Here we talk about current events, trending news. Sometimes I give my opinion, sometimes I give my legal take. We just kind of see how it goes, how the conversation goes. Normally, I give both. Always got to toss the disclaimer out. Hey, this isn't legal advice or anything. This is just infotainment purposes as I give my opinion and takes on topics and current events. I did have a topic I wanted to talk about, but I thought it was too deep of a legal dive to talk about with a bunch of other stuff. So I'll probably just do a separate video. But it was about a unanimous decision, 9-0, that the Supreme Court came up with, which hardly ever happens. They never agree on anything unanimously. It was an interesting decision. It's one that'll impact everybody moving forward, and it relates to police officers and the use of force. But I'll do a video on that one separately because I got a few topics I want to hit before we jump into this indictment. As always, if you get some value out of this or you see something you like, I invite you to subscribe, share, comment, like, all of that good stuff. If you see something you don't like, go ahead, hit the thumbs down button. It's all good over here, equal opportunity. All right, so let's pick up with the story that we left off with. We're going to head down south. We're going to go to New Orleans. We're going to talk about this inmate escape. I think it was 10 people who escaped. I said they'll probably catch 7. I went through a whole soliloquy of people who always evade justice. They only go 3 places. They either go one city over from the city where they are from or escape from. They go to their parents' house, preferably mother or their girlfriend's house. Those are like the top 3 places that you'll find anyone who's absconding justice, who the law can't find. That's just kind of, what it is. But let's get an update. I said they'll probably catch 7 out of 10. I try to give the benefit of the doubt. There's probably 3 guys who actually were sharp enough to say, you know what, let me just try to actually get out of the state. So let's get an update on this story. And then we're going to talk about the people who were aiding and abetting. And I'm just be honest, it wasn't a surprise. Of all the persons who were arrested during the aiding and abetting, it just wasn't a surprise. Let's just watch.
Accused murderer Trayvon Johnson back in custody. Friday's audacious escape from a Louisiana jail Thursday. Authorities say this video shows Johnson scaling a fence.
So this is another escape that occurred just to show that it's not a one-off thing, okay? People just escaping left and right. It probably happens more common than we think, but this is another escape. Same area, another gentleman, he's scaling the fence. He was able to get caught immediately.
With help from another inmate before bolting across an open field. His second jailbreak in the past year, ending in about a day. A far cry from the scene playing out in New Orleans. Police there releasing this new video showing teams executing a warrant in tactical gear with rifles in pursuit of 5 inmates still on the lam more than a week after this brazen escape.
The pressure's on.
How the hell they can't even run because their pants hanging off their ass.
When the pressure's on, that's when people make mistakes.
Rob D'Amico is a former FBI agent who's worked dozens of fugitive cases.
It can take a while. I've seen actually fugitives, we've in the FBI arrested them 10, 20 years later.
Officials say the escapees may be reaching out to family and friends for help as the net of alleged accomplices expands. Now, up to 7 people arrested and charged with either assisting in the initial escape or helping the inmates once out.
How big of a factor do you think the family, the friends, the people in the neighborhood will be in this?
it's huge. And it may not be a friend, but then a friend of a friend, they saw him, or that this person was doing stuff, getting food that didn't make sense. Police are going through all of that.
The public, now potentially law enforcement's most valuable tool, with time ticking.
Priscilla, how long can authorities keep up this level of manhunt?
Well, Jose, experts say that budgets could become a factor here, specifically how long local law enforcement can afford to pay the overtime required to keep this search up.
They got about probably 3 to 5 more days where they can utilize that much resources, that much time and money. If whoever makes it after that, after the resources run out, is probably going to be on the lam for the longest. But hey, real quick, let's just talk about this. A lot of these guys escaped. It was clearly an inside job. We talked about the gentleman who removed the toilet and cut off the water so that when the inmates remove the toilet, they can have an easy out without water leaking from the pipes and causing all sorts of problems. That gentleman was arrested. That gentleman said that he was threatened with a knife. I will just be honest, I call cap on that. I don't know. Maybe he was threatened with a knife. But if I'm a janitor at a jail and they threaten to take my life if I don't do it, I'm going to just quit, or I'm telling and not coming back to work. At least today, get those guys up out of there. But this guy was like, I was just shook. I don't know how truthful that is. I mean, y'all let me know. I think it's kind of cap. But a lot of these guys use the gift of gab to facilitate help when they got on the outside. You heard a news report say friends and families. A lot of these guys were conversing, talking to women through the prison pen pal system. And a lot of women, or several women, I won't say a lot, several women have been picked up and arrested for assisting these fugitives on their escape and trying to evade justice. Now they're charged with being accessory after the fact. I took a look at a newspaper story, and it says everyone who's an accessory after the fact is looking at 5 years in custody. I'll be honest, I don't think there's nobody like that's crazy. Okay, I don't think there's nobody who if I'm talking to some lady in prison, okay, hey, shout out to everybody who turned their life around and serving their sentence. But you crazy. I seen those shows, Love After Lockup. Nah, bro. I'm not doing it. There's no way. I don't even know how you get talked into doing something like that. Like, I just can't fathom it. I could see family members potentially helping, but I don't know. I think it's just an actually crazy story that is happening. I think the even crazier part are all the people who are trying to help them after the fact getting caught, and now they're going to end up in the same prison where the person that they were helping was in custody. These guys who escaped aren't like people in jail for misdemeanors. These people have like serious high-level felonies. You're talking about murders, armed robberies. People are going into hiding because these individuals escaped, but people are out there helping them just because they're in love or just because they're looking out for their family. I can't do it. I'm telling y'all right now, if y'all in prison and y'all escape, don't call me, okay? Don't call me, and really don't call me if it's a reward. If it's a reward, I should be the last person that you should think about calling. I'm telling you right now. But I have heard one story real quick before we go to the next story. I have heard of a prison escape story that was actually kind of interesting. There was a gentleman once who escaped from prison. He's on the run. There's a reward for him, and his family member turns him in and gets the reward. But they found out later that he actually contacted his family member and said, hey, I'm going to turn myself in, but, I'd rather y'all get the reward. So, hey, call the cops, tell them that I give them. Like, it was all contingent upon them getting the reward, and they turned themselves in, and they actually got the reward, and the government let them keep the reward, which was, hey, that was kind of smart. If you got to get locked back up, you might as well get locked back up to give a loved one some type of financial benefit that would essentially help them. Let's go ahead and take a look at this next story. This is just a little bit more information about some of the individuals who are helping these gentlemen evade authorities.
And now to new developments this afternoon in that ongoing manhunt for the remaining inmates who escaped last week from the Orleans Parish Jail. State police just announcing the arrests of 2 women accused of aiding escapees. 32-year-old Courtney Harris and 38-year-old Corvante Baptiste of Slidell are charged with accessory after the fact. Investigators say the pair helped some of the fugitives after their escape. As reporter Ryan Chandler shows us, this news comes just hours after the arrest of a 5th escaped inmate.
I would love to know the relationship between these gentlemen and Corvante and Courtney. From several articles, it looks like it was several articles I see. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it looked like these were persons that they met prior to their incarceration. So, hey, I guess they just had a ride or die. But yeah, people are out there losing 5 years of their lives to help these guys escape custody. Probably, honestly, where they should be based on the charges and the convictions that these people have.
Overnight, authorities capturing a 5th fugitive, 19-year-old Corey Boyd, degree murder and aggravated battery charges. Boyd, the youngest of the 10 inmates who broke out of this New Orleans jail, an operation officials are calling an inside job. On Tuesday, investigators arresting jail maintenance worker Sterling Williams.
Sterling Williams. No shade to Sterling Williams, but I don't know. Sterling Williams, you said they threatened you to shank you up. There's a lot of better things that you could have done. There's a lot of better things that could have been done by Mr. Williams as opposed to helping him. Now he's going to be looking at time in custody as well. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not saying, like, okay, stereotyping people is weird, okay? Because stereotyping somebody could be the completely wrong thing to do, but stereotyping somebody could actually save your life. It's a double-edged sword. Stereotypes can be bad. Stereotypes can be good. If I were leading up this entire investigation and this guy was on duty, I'm probably going to go to talk to him first. I was like, I don't know. This dude probably got an incentive to do it. I don't know if it was for monetary compensation. Janitor is the first person I'm talking to, probably. Probably don't get paid a lot. Probably looking for an opportunity to get some extra compensation. I'm probably going to talk to this gentleman first. Not saying that, hey, I'm just saying that I'm going to go talk to him before I go talk to someone who is higher up on a totem pole. Not saying they don't do it too, but I'm starting at the lowest level, the lowest rung possible. Mr. Williams is in custody, and I don't think no one's going to buy his story about them threatening to stab him.
Who they say helped the inmates escape. According to the arrest affidavit, Williams told investigators one of the inmates threatened to thank him. They say Williams complied, and 10 men were able to crawl out of this hole behind a toilet and run free. Williams is now facing 10 counts of principal to simple escape and 1 count of malfeasance in office.
This investigation is still an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, the crazy thing about this entire story, this is not the violent accused and convicted criminals who escape. It's not people like Sterling Williams or Courtney or the people who are aiding and abetting. The craziest part of this whole story, and that nobody's really talking about, the absolutely most insane part of this story is they removed 1 toilet and was able to escape prison. That's actually crazy. All they did, like, it wasn't an escape from Alcatraz. They didn't create mannequins and put them in the bed. They didn't have a spoon and was slowly shoveling out dirt as they dig a hole underneath the prison. They removed 1 toilet and were out the door. That has to be the most piss poor designed prison that I've ever seen in life. Like, remove literally 2 screws, 2 bolts hold down the toilet. They literally removed 2 bolts, moved the shitter, and were out the door. That is actually the worst part of the story. I don't know what the budget was for building this facility. I don't know who the engineer was who designed it, but it's absolutely crazy that you can remove one toilet and be on your way to a short-lived, potentially short-lived freedom escaping authorities. I think that's the actually craziest part of this entire story.
And so there could be more arrests that will follow.
Law enforcement's also sending a message to those who may be helping the men hide.
You can either choose prison, because we are going to catch you and charge you, or you can cooperate.
Now, with half of the escapees recaptured and all expected in custody at a maximum security prison in Angola, Louisiana, an independent investigation is underway. The sheriff who oversees the jail accepting some blame.
There were procedural failures and missed.
Fired. The sheriff who oversaw this should be fired immediately. Fire her, put whoever the deputy is or the principal, sheriff, or whatever they have in second in command, put them temporarily in charge. This is completely unacceptable. And it's not the escape. It's all of the shit that did or didn't happen afterwards. Them not notifying the public. Then they went into the blame game. And then the sheriff went on a tirade about it's odd that this occurs right before an election. Unless you have proof that your political rivals actually facilitated a jail escape, because the town sheriff position is so coveted, you should leave that shit where it is and probably not talk about it. I think that she should be gone immediately. If I had the unilateral authority to do it, she would be up out of there.
Notifications. But there were also intentional wrongdoings.
Among the 5 escapees still at large, a convicted murderer and a man who broke out of a different Louisiana jail in 2019. In that case, he was found within hours just outside of Dallas. While police have captured the other inmates in New Orleans, 6 days into the manhunt, officials say it's possible some of those still on the run may have fled to other cities or states.
We have one mission only, and that is to recapture these inmates, these escapees.
And coming up next hour on News 15 Live at 5, the Orleans Parish Sheriff is under fire for her handling of the situation. We'll show you why she's suspending her campaign for re-election in the wake of this massive jailbreak.
Outstanding.
He thought he was meeting a woman.
Outstanding. Good job. Suspend the campaign. No, this should actually bar you from running.
And now to new developments.
Stop. That should actually bar you from running. So that's an entire debacle. Like I said, if any of the inmates who are at large over the next 3 to 5 days are probably going to have a long run of being out. Not saying they won't ever get caught, but the longer it takes, they're not going to have the resources to have 200 law enforcement agents looking for these guys indefinitely. Is a wrap. They're already screaming broke and money problems as the reason that this actually happened. There's an actual process. Technically, most times it depends how the municipality is set up. In some places, the mayor appoints the chief of police. In some places, the mayor nominates the chief of police, and then the council would have to confirm them. So it depends on how the structure of the municipality is set up. But there is a method for getting somebody up out of there. Like right now, even if, let's say, it had to go through like the city council or the equivalent or whatever that was, even if that was the case, there's no way no one wouldn't vote for her to be removed right now after this. Hence the reason she suspended her election campaign as she should have. But yeah, there's always a way to get you out of there. It just depends on how the municipality is set up. Whether it's an appointment with the sole authority resting with the mayor, or if it's a system where the city council has to vote to either confirm someone or to have them removed. There's a method to fire a political person at this level, especially a sheriff. It happens a lot. It happens a lot. It's actually quite common. Now, this next video is actually consistent with videos that we have shown before about the dangers of meeting people thinking you're going to go out to clap some cheeks and things just do not work out in your favor. Now, this was actually interesting. My son had me laughing. My son actually said something that was quite funny, and normally I don't find this sense of humor that funny, but this was actually pretty hilarious. So let's go ahead and pull this up.
He was meeting a woman for a first date after an online connection, but it turned
let's run this back.
He was meeting a woman for a first date after an
Okay, we gotta pause this video right here, okay? We got Aaron. He must be in his room. I was like, but we gotta pause this video right here because this part of the video was actually hilarious. We were me and my son were talking about how this guy got finessed on this date and it ended up in a terrible event happening, and now all of these people are fugitives. And normally when people get finessed on a date, what was the exact phrase you said? When you saw this image?
Oh, I understand.
Huh?
I understand.
Oh, yeah. He said he saw this still image and said, I understand exactly why that young man was coerced to go out and that led to this crime being done. And as soon as I saw this image, I was like, I don't know what her profile picture was looking like, but fellas, that shit is actually dangerous. Like, and I think this is consistent with another video we did where people were met at like 1 a.m. in the morning is a secluded place. Like, go to Dave and Buster's, go to a movie, go anywhere where it's a crowd of people. Don't go to an isolated place. Ladies, fellas, I don't care. This is gender neutral advice. You shouldn't be meeting somebody at 1 a.m. in the morning unless you're going to, like, I don't know, maybe like some restaurant that's open or maybe a bar, even though that's dangerous, but at least there are other people around.
Online connection, but it turned out to be a setup. Instead, he was ambushed, shot at, and robbed. That's when the victim fled and the attackers stole his car and his cash.
Rick Chambers is live in MacArthur Park.
All I'm saying, yeah, hilarious. Was he not breastfed as a child? I don't understand. I mean, all he saw was those cans, and he just was like, you know what? I think going out at 1 in the morning for those is a good idea. I mean, they was all falling out of her shirt on the picture. It was crazy. So I'm sure whatever her profile picture was probably immaculate. Like, her profile picture probably was immaculate. They was probably all popping out of her turtleneck and anything, and he just was like, oh man, his eyes fell out of his head. But that's generally a dangerous thing to do, men and women across the board.
For details on the dating app ambush and the suspects, police are
Rampart gang detectives that have been working this case for about 3 weeks now, and they're looking for two couples who have been targeting online daters. These are the 4 robbery suspects that police are looking for. And this woman in particular, they say, lured our victim off an online dating site.
When they met in person, the female suspect had asked the victim to drive to a secluded area in our Rampart area.
All right, real quick. I think we already knew this, but I'm just going to rewind this back just because we got a better look. I want to go back to the story. All right. I kind of figured this. As soon as I saw these individuals, I was like, which one of these persons could convince somebody to leave the house at 0:30 in the morning? So I don't think it was breaking news when the news said, particularly this woman, yeah, she was definitely the bait.
And this woman in particular, they say, lured our victim off an online dating site.
That's actually crazy that she's just walking around looking like that with her breast falling out. That's actually kind of crazy. Like, that's actually kind of wild.
When they met in person, the female suspect had asked the victim to drive to a secluded area in our Rampart area.
This is that street near downtown, and they weren't there very long when
two additional suspects came over, and one of the male suspects had opened the door of the victim's vehicle.
It's crazy.
He pointed a gun at him, demanded his property.
they also demanded at gunpoint that the victim unlock his phone and hand over his passwords.
Throughout the night, that same night, what they did was they actually made various transfers. They bought many things that totaled about $20,000.
It gives me the goosebumps, actually.
Daniel Contreras lives nearby and says he'll make some adjustments now to his routine.
Maybe just aware on the online situation, and to be more aware and the lookout.
And detectives say that the robbery at gunpoint wasn't the end to our victim's nightmare.
The male suspects actually shot towards the victim, who was seated in his vehicle. The victim, in fear, actually fled the location and left his vehicle back there.
The robbers came back 3 hours later and stole the man's car.
That's actually crazy that his car was still there 3 hours later. It was just sitting there, and they came back and got it. But hey, this is a cautionary tale for everybody across the board. Man, people out here to do harm to y'all. People out here to finesse. People out here broke as fuck. Even if they not broke as hell, they want what's yours because they don't want to do no real work to get it. So just be careful when y'all doing things like that, even when y'all out in public. A friend literally just told me, this is a real story. I was just telling a homegirl of mine that she should get a firearm. Now, I feel 100% confident that this sister can fight too, okay? Like, this sister, like, she probably give a lot of guys some go. But I was like, yo, you should just go ahead and get a concealed carry permit. And she was like, nah, I don't need one. And I was like, the most vulnerable time for me that I think for anybody, but in particular a woman, is when you're pulling up to your crib and that those seconds that go by from the time you're leaving your vehicle to the time you're getting in the house. We just had this conversation like on a Friday. Then the following week, like on a Tuesday, she proceeds to tell me this story of like some guy who was trying to ride up on the elevator with her. Like, she got on the elevator and he got on first, didn't hit any button. Then when she got on and she hit a button, then he hit the button that's go on the floor, one floor up from her. It was all giving creep vibes. Now, she said after she got off the elevator, she turned around and squared up and was like, yo, what the fuck? Like she was ready to go. And she was like, the dude was like, oh, nah, I'm sorry. I missed my floor. He wasn't paying attention. He gets on the elevator and leaves. But I was like, yeah, that situation worked out in your favor. But what if it didn't? I don't know. I think that everybody should have a firearm because all the bad guys got one, so you might as well have it too. But I was literally just having that conversation with her about why she should get one, and then literally 4 or 5 days later, some creepy guy's in her complex, clearly doesn't have a code or access to the building, but he was in there, and I mean, luckily it worked out. But hey, the cautionary tale is be careful. Things are dangerous. People are trying to set you up. Now we're going to take a look at 2 stories before we jump into this indictment. The next stories we're going to look at are about use of force. One guy is screwed. The other guy, I don't know. I'm going to say it's 50-50. I'll let y'all see the second story, and you all let me know where you lie on it. I want y'all opinion in the comments before I give my take. First story,
dumping
one,
it nearly 7 miles away in this alley.
Putting that breastfed as a child.
Hearing is the suspect in this case was pretty upset that someone had been trying the past. Hearing is the suspect in this case was pretty upset that someone had been trying the past couple of days to break into his trailer. So when he pulled up yesterday and saw someone in his front yard, he immediately thought that was the guy who was stealing from him. Police say he ran over, confronted him, then shot him.
Prison. That's all I need to hear. Prison. Somebody was trying to break into his trailer or several nights. Landscape was there. He thinks the landscaper is the trailer guy. He approaches him. They have an interaction. He shoots him. I don't even need to hear any more facts. But just off those facts right there, I was like, it's given property. Remember, you cannot use lethal force to protect property. Normally, this is how the scenario plays out. Someone is outside trying to steal my car. I'll have a gun on my hip. So since I got this gun on my hip, I go outside. Now it's concealed. Nobody can see it. And I go outside and confront the guys. Now I can't pull my gun out and be like, yo, get the hell away from my car. But if I go outside, I confront the guys. Let's say the guys come from behind the vehicle and they're like, man, get your old ass back in the house, old man. And as they're walking towards me, they aren't focused on the car. They're walking towards me, and one of the guys takes his hand and he puts his hand underneath his shirt. I proceed to put in some wet work. Different situation, but typically when people are defending property, they're going out to stop it. But the next question, the next step in the analysis is what occurred after that? Did they take off and run? Did they change their focus from the property to actually trying to assault you? I'm thinking everything is property as soon as I'm hearing the intro to this.
Turns out the man wasn't a thief at all. He was the landscaper. Investigators were back on the scene in this Gilbert neighborhood, trying to figure out how a landscaper was shot and killed in a bizarre case of mistaken identity. This is the man now in custody, 28-year-old Wyatt Ford, who police say shot 51-year-old Vega Lopez multiple times Monday in front of the house Ford had been renting with his wife and children. According to court record, upset that someone had been trying to break into his trailer, and when he saw the landscaper in the yard, he assumed he was up to no good. So,
bad language. I saw the landscaper in the yard. I assumed that he was up to no good. Assumptions, bad, terrible.
He confronted him, then reportedly opened fire.
And I heard the shots, and I come outside.
Neighbor Charles Podran ran over to the scene right away and saw the landscaper on the ground. He asked Ford what happened.
What did he say to you? He said to me that this was the gentleman that had been getting into my trailer.
All right, that's a bad statement because it's again about property.
And he said he was attacking me, so I shot him.
Okay, that's a better statement to make, that he was attacking me, so I shot him. Now, if you're going to make that argument, that's given self-defense. All the property shit is irrelevant, but the story that has to be told in order for this to not end you up in prison indefinitely is I went out to approach him about the property. At some point, things pivoted. It got violent. He made a gesture as if he was drawing for a weapon. The only reason none of that is going to fly because the guy was a fucking landscaper. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, this guy really didn't need to lose his life because somebody who made an assumption that was absolutely ridiculous.
He had no idea that it was the landscaper?
No idea it was the landscaper. Nobody did.
The landscaper.
Now, he said nobody in the neighborhood knew this guy was a landscaper. I don't know. If you're in a neighborhood and that's kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird that a landscaper is just out in the neighborhood that you aren't aware of. I stayed in communities where you had an HOA, and when the landscaper was out there, you were like, oh, yeah, I know the landscapers. You kind of recognize it as the same guys. So I think that's odd that the homeowner didn't know the landscaper. The neighbor was like, nobody knew this guy was a landscaper.
Was pronounced dead at the scene. This is video of Ford being taken into custody and charged with second-degree murder. Arizona's family has learned that the city of Gilbert had recently sent out notices to all the homeowners in this community off Power and Germain roads, asking them to trim back their trees. Ford and his wife had reportedly been sent a text from their landlord telling them that someone would be coming over to trim the tree in front of the house.
If they received a text message, they knew about it. If you received a text message, you may not see it today. You may not see it till the next morning. But if you received a text message, you probably read it.
The defense is that I committed a crime but I was justified in doing it.
We sat down with Phoenix criminal defense attorney Aaron Reed, who told us Arizona does allow suspects to claim self-defense in certain cases, but a lot depends on the circumstances.
Are they trying to break into your home? Are they in your home? Or are they in the front yard of your home? Those things matter because in Arizona, you have a right to defend yourself against force, using reasonable force, but you don't have a right to defend property with deadly force.
That's across the board in every state, even the states that are super liberal when it comes to gun laws. So this guy is screwed. I think this is an easy story. This is an easy one where we can see that, hey, he was defending property. The guy probably didn't pose any immediate threat of serious bodily harm or death. So easy example, that homeowner is going to go into custody and have to go on trial to defend himself and probably lose, as he should based on the facts. Now, this one is a little bit different. Oh, not different, more difficult. I'm going to try to let this video play through, and y'all let me know in the comments, was this a good shooting or a bad shooting? Was this self-defense or a crime and someone needs to be locked up and going away? This second one is a little bit more sketch, I think. So y'all let me know.
Details in a deadly shooting inside a West Philadelphia corner grocery store earlier this week. Our Steve Keeley, who was on scene minutes after, has more on the 15-year-old who was hit and killed, and now the man charged with his murder.
All right, 15-year-old shot, dead. These are the facts. We're just going to go through them. I'm going to take some intermittent pauses just so the YouTube people don't get angry at me.
22-year-old Jaquan Higgs has now been charged with murder in the double shooting homicide Wednesday here inside the Maryland grocery store at 54th and Ray Streets just past 2 p.m. Philadelphia police sources tell me Higgs stayed on scene at the store after shooting 2 armed juveniles.
He stayed on scene. That's actually a good thing. You use your weapon and you put somebody down. Hey, if you're the ones who stay on the scene, you're the ones who call them law enforcement. That's consistent with what a lawful carrier who's acting in good faith would do. 2 teens were shot. Again, they just said 2 armed teens. So these teens had weapons.
Killing a 15-year-old and critically wounding a 16-year-old shot in the face. Philadelphia police sources identify the 15-year-old as Seth Marshall, who was shot and killed while armed with this semi-automatic gun with an extended magazine.
Okay, the 15-year-old who ended up passing away, respectfully. The 15-year-old who ended up passing away, he had a gun with an extended clip magazine. The other 16-year-old who was shot, who survived, had a firearm as well. Let's get all the facts, and y'all let me know if this self-defense or is this murder.
Witnesses inside the store picked it up and put it under a car across the street to keep it from being used as they ran out of the store. Police found it and took it in. One of 3 guns recovered. Police say the 16-year-old also had a gun that was found inside the store.
All right, 2 kids shot, 1's dead. Both had firearms.
Police sources tell me that Higgs has a permit to legally carry a concealed weapon.
He has a permit to carry a concealed weapon. You know what that tells me? He probably doesn't have any felonies. If he did, they were either very low-level felonies and they got expunged. But he doesn't have any felonies. He's in Philadelphia and is damn sure not a constitutional carry state. So he has some minimal amount of training on firearm safety. I think that's highlighted from the fact that after he put in his work, he remained on the scene to explain things to law enforcement. So 3 guns, 3 people, 2 people shot, 1 person dead. We have a law-abiding citizen, purportedly, who was a lawful carrier of his firearm, who stayed on the scene till cops arrived. We had a 15-year-old who's no longer with us, who had a gun with an extended clip. We had a 16-year-old who also had a gun. And the Second Amendment carrier, lawful gun carrier, is currently arrested and in custody.
Police took his gun that day, too. As he told detectives, he fired at the two teenagers in self-defense. Sources say store surveillance shows that neither teen pulled their guns out before they were shot.
Okay, he fired in self-defense. That's his argument. That's the only argument he has to make. But neither one of the teens pulled out their firearm. Neither one of them pulled out their firearm. You gotta take things in as the facts are presented.
The store video shows the 15-year-old's gun visibly sticking out of his waistband as he was near the front door and raised his phone, not his gun, and began typing a text and was just 2 letters in when he was shot in the head and killed.
Okay. Let's just put this in context, okay? Because I know y'all, I want to know y'all thoughts. Okay. Nobody pulled their gun out. These two kids didn't pull their gun out. They clearly not supposed to have these guns. Them shit's probably ghost guns or something. I don't know. But they clearly have these guns illegally. The 15-year-old who was shot and killed had an extended magazine that was clearly visible as the firearm was sticking out of his hip. He goes and reaches and grabs his phone and lifts his phone up to type a text message. The guy shoots and kills the kid.
The 16-year-old is seen on the store surveillance paying for his food order at the front counter when he was shot. Both teens, sources tell me, have extensive criminal records despite their young ages. The 15-year-old, law enforcement sources say, was wanted on weapons charges in Montgomery County.
Okay, we got to get all the facts because I know everybody like throw this guy in jail as he is now. But again, the two kids have extensive criminal records to include weapons charges. Even though they were young, they got some serious shit going on now. Again, this is Joe Citizen right here who's currently in custody for murder, but lawful carrier of a firearm, did everything to get it legally, versus two teenagers with firearms, one of them clearly visible, extensive criminal records. One was actually had an open warrant for weapons possession, and this gentleman right here is arguing self-defense.
Higgs had no criminal record at all, allowing him to legally get a permit to carry. And he lived right across the street from the store on Ray Street, and sources say almost everybody knew that he carried a gun, and he was a regular, almost daily customer of the store. Tonight.
All right, that was important. Let's rewind that real quick. That was important.
And he was a regular, almost.
I want everybody to catch that. That was an important part.
Store on Ray Street, and sources say almost everybody knew that he carried a gun, and he was a regular, almost daily customer of the store.
All right, everybody knew that the gentleman who was in custody was carried his firearm with him. He was a regular in the store. People knew him.
Tonight, he is charged with murder, attempted murder, and more, as he will now have to make his self-defense claim in a courtroom. The 16-year-old shot in the face and knee was in critical condition. Sources tell me he had just been released from juvenile detention days before this shooting. He will now face new charges, too, for the gun he was carrying. In West Philadelphia, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
Okay, so those are the facts. And I don't know, y'all looking like, what's going on, pretty eyes? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Was that legit? Y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Murder is an overcharge. Okay, murder is an overcharge. Let's see, he will be held culpable. They didn't point the gun at him. Sounds mentally unstable and trigger happy. Is he? I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest. I think this one is probably, if I had to split it or give a percentage, I mean, they might get a conviction on this guy, but I think 50-50. I don't think you can convince 12 people that he actually wasn't in fear, even though these gentlemen did not pull out the firearm. I'll tell you why. Now, again, I'm going to make a mild assumption on a few things. I know y'all don't want to be like, man, this dude is gun happy. I don't. If I go anywhere every day where I can lawfully take it, I take. Every time I go to the corner store in my neighborhood, I got a gun on me every time, 100%. Every time, I'm not going without it. If I actually leave out, I'd be like, oh shit, let me go get my gun before I walk to the corner store. 2 blocks away, I got my gun on me. So I actually think that that's a normal thing. Was the fear reasonable? Okay, when I was maybe in 9th grade, there was a kid in an adjacent neighborhood who was probably younger than me. He probably was in 7th grade. And this kid, being in the 7th grade, shot a lot of Negroes. He was known for shooting people, had a gun on him all the time. In this story, this is just how I look at it. They said that the gentleman who was in the store, who was the lawful carrier, people knew that he carried a firearm on him and he was a regular in the store. When you're in the hood, if you know who the regular everyday carrier is who has a lawful permit, you know who else you know? You know who the badasses who got the guns, who's shooting and robbing motherfuckers for no reason. It is the same amount of familiarity that they know him in as a regular. That shit travel for people who do bad things as well. Again, I'm just talking, hey, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody in them circumstances, but I knew people who were 13, 14, who had a gun on them and would use it at any given moment. If I'm in the neighborhood and I'm in the store and one of them are in the store and I actually see them with the gun sticking out of their waistband, I'm thinking that they're going to use this damn gun because they done used it plenty of times before. So I'll be honest, I think this is a toss-up. I don't know, even though they didn't pull out the firearm, I mean, you got to kind of look at things in a totality, not in the 2 seconds before or the 2 seconds after the firearm was used. This is literally the analysis that the Supreme Court gave in the case that I probably talk about since we're talking about it. But you can't look at what happened 2 seconds before the shooting and 2 seconds after the shooting. You got to look at everything in the totality. You got to look at the persons involved. What familiarity did the people involved have with one another? Were these 2 kids in the neighborhood known for gunplay? If they're known for gunplay in the neighborhood and from the news story and the type of charges and shit they had going on, sound like these 2 kids were known for gunplay in the neighborhood. This guy's in the store. Now, we don't know what the actual proximity was of the guy when he shot versus when he noticed the kids with the firearm on them. But I don't know. I think it's tough. I don't know if I think it'll be tough for 12 people to be like, yeah, this guy, this was a murder and it was completely unacceptable. I think it's a little bit of I don't know. I just don't think that. Now, he may take a plea. It's interesting. I wonder if he had concealed carry insurance, which I advise everyone to get for these types of situations. But I think it's a toss-up. I could see it going both ways. Definitely, if you're looking at it from a totality of circumstances, if none of these kids had guns on them, everybody would look at these facts completely different. But if I'm sitting in the jury box and I'm like, these kids got guns on them, he got an extended clip just sticking out of his pocket. They known for gunplay in the neighborhood, just like he known for carrying his concealed carry weapon in the neighborhood. I think it's going to be a toss-up. I don't think that's an absolute slam dunk. This guy's guilty of murder. Send him away. Yeah, I agree. I agree. That could be a possibility. That could be a possibility that there's a lower level homicide charge. But I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I don't think his self-defense argument is completely stupid. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't think that his self-defense argument is absolutely stupid for a murder charge, given the facts that we have here. Now, I understand the hard part is going to be, was he an immediate, did he reasonably believe he was an immediate threat of death or severe bodily harm? Most people will look at that and say no, but if these are people known in the neighborhood for doing violent shit, they have a history of doing violent shit. I don't know if that would be far fetched. I know if I would have went in the store and I would have saw the individual who I knew who was out here doing all sorts of gunplay in the 7th grade, and I saw him in the store and I'm in the store, I'd be scared shitless. I'd be like, oh fuck, I ended up in the store with this dude. I would actually try to go out the back or something, because I didn't have a gun on me at that time. I was a kid. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough call. It's going to be a tough call. If I'm in the jury, I don't know if you can convince me that he wasn't. Self-defense is based on the perception of the individual who was defending himself. Now, if the kid who was alive says, no, we were just going in the store, I was buying my slushie, and my man was texting this girl on the phone, of course, that helps. But, like, wait, didn't you get picked up on weapons charges? Like, and didn't your man have the extended clip? I don't know. I think I couldn't vote guilty on these facts. Just me. Just on these facts as we have them, I couldn't vote guilty. Because we're talking about the time frame for use of force, I want to talk real quick. I'll probably do a deeper dive. But it was actually a video from a police interaction shooting that occurred in 2019. Supreme Court made a unanimous decision, 9-0. They rarely, if ever, make a unanimous decision on anything. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can pull the video. Do I want to pull the video up? Yeah, let me pull the video up. I already got it on my watch later. I'm going to pull the video up. Houston, Texas, officer involved shooting of Ashton Barnes. Are you all familiar with young Ashton Barnes? Let me go ahead and pull the video up. And shout out to Steve Clips. I'm going to pull the video up. But I want to lay the fact. Actually, I'm going to show the video first. I'm going to show the video first. Then when y'all see the video, y'all probably going to think one thing. Now, it doesn't mean that this officer will be found guilty, but it was an interesting decision, and it relates to use of force with officers, in the look-back window of, okay, if we're looking at this from the perception of the officer, would a reasonable officer believe their life or bodily harm was at risk? The look-back window. This is the video dash cam footage of what went on with Mr. Barnes. Now, let me lay the foundation. Mr. Barnes is driving a car. It's his girlfriend's car. It's actually a rental car that his girlfriend rented. And man put as much as 4 players. He did. Hey, man. Hey. The stories leading up to it. The stories leading up to it is the foreplay. You gotta. Never mind. I'm not even fooling with you, right? But this was the scenario. This gentleman's driving this car. This car is a rental car that his girlfriend rented. He actually got pulled over by the officer involved because the car had toll violations associated with it. It's a rental car. Toll violations aren't his if it's a rental car, but that's the reason why the cop pulled him over. The cop pulls him over. He asks for his license. The guy's kind of fidgeting around for his license. He thinks maybe it's in the bags in the trunk. I don't know if they were traveling or what the facts and circumstances were, but that's the background before we get to actually what happened. So have that background in Of course, this actually leads to a shooting and an individual losing their life, lawsuits being filed, people taking losses, and then the Supreme Court coming back changing something that relates to use of force. And I think it'll apply probably across the board, not just officers. But let's take a look at the video. He hit the patented touch on the back so they see those fingerprints there just in case something happened.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Deputy Chief of the Constable's Office. The reason you're being stopped today is because your vehicle alerted to a tow violation. You have your driver's license and proof of insurance with you? Sir? I understand that, but it has outstanding tow violation. When did you rent the vehicle? About a week ago. About a week ago? Actually rented my girlfriend. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. It's actually rented in my girlfriend's name. I'm on the way to get it washed and turn it back in. Okay. What's her name? Sorry, Lucy. Okay. You have your driver's license?
And so all of this is going to go quick, but again, he stopped them for the reasons we noted: toll violations. He's telling them there's a rental. The cop got his entire head in the door, which is absolutely terrible posture for law enforcement to be in.
Anything to just I need to know about? I'm going to dig it around. I smell marijuana. Is there any marijuana in the vehicle?
Now, at some point, he asked for his license. The officer says he smelled marijuana, which they always say most of the time is cap, is ridiculous. But he said, I smell a smell of marijuana. And most officers say that because they're trying to figure out a way to finesse their way into your car.
Don't dig around.
Stop fidgeting around. So now he's in there and he's searching around, trying to reach around to find his license, registration, all of that stuff.
Dig around. Don't dig around. Okay.
Cop got his hand on the gun now. Once he starts fidgeting around, you see his hand go on his firearm.
Do you have any identification on you? Sure, go ahead and pop the trunk for me.
Again, he pops the trunk because he said, oh, maybe my stuff is in the back. I can just go around and get it.
Go ahead and put that paper off the top for me. Go ahead and put that for me.
Door open, standing in the door well. Stupid position to be in. All right, so let's go ahead and play it. Shots occur on the vehicle as it gets down the road. Now, what happened with this case afterwards? What happened? How did this get to the Supreme Court? What was going on? Long story short, essentially with this case, what happened, criminal charges were brought against the officer. He was found not guilty. Parents, of course, filed a civil lawsuit. Civil lawsuit went, parents lost at district court. They lost the appeal. They went to the Supreme Court and won 9-0 decision. Every justice on the Supreme Court agreed, which is wild. Only reason I looked at it. But this actually related to police officers and their use of force. Long story short, the legal guidance based on court opinions for examining when a police officer, when their use of force wasn't justified, it has a very small, a very narrow look back window. Officers or the court can only look at in that moment that the shooting occurred, was the officer in fear of their life or of serious bodily harm in that moment. So when the parents lost their cases, the judges expressly said, we can't look at everything that happened beforehand, everything that happened after. We are bound based on this legal test to solely look in that moment. So you're talking about a second or two before the shooting and a second or two after the shooting. The parents filed an appeal. It got all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said what I think is common sense. That's actually bullshit. In order to understand if use of force is applicable, you can't solely focus your analysis on seconds before and seconds after the shooting. You have to look at everything from a totality of the circumstances involved. In this case, what the argument is going to be, because you probably couldn't see this from the video, but what happened is the individual opens his door. The cop is telling him stop reaching around. The cop gets shook for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe the guy kept reaching around. He pulls his firearm out, and this is in the court testimony. He presses it against the individual's head. Once he pulls his firearm out, press it against the individual's head, then the car starts to go down the road and the officer is in it. The officer's like, yo, I'm in a car hanging out the door. I'm fearing for my life. I fired off these shots. Again, criminally, he was found not guilty. Family law, civil lawsuits in district court and appellate court. Supreme Court said, no, we can do a farther look back, because the argument on behalf of the police officer was in that moment, he was in the car, it was unsafe, the door was open, the individual was behind the wheel, or the suspect or decedent was behind the wheel. So yeah, in that moment, would an officer be in fear of their life? Yeah, you could fall out the goddamn car, split your melon open, and it would be all over. But the Supreme Court said, no. We have to take a look back to see what the circumstances was. And really the argument that they're going to make, if and when this case is retried, is going to be that the dangerous circumstance that the officer used to justify the shooting was one that he actually created. That's the argument that they're going to make. Had the officer not taken his gun out, really, I think, ridiculously early and based for no reason, but had the officer not taken his gun out, pressed it against this guy's head who was in the vehicle, he could see his hands according to the testimony, there was actually no threat. Had the officer not taken his gun out, the vehicle probably wouldn't have been driving forward, but the guy was probably shook. Several things could have caused the vehicle to go forward. But the argument that they're going to make during retrial is that, hey, now that we can look at the totality of the circumstances and not just the 2 seconds before and after the shooting, this was a low-risk stop for tolls. The guy didn't have his license on him, which is a crime in Texas, but you get a ticket, and if you come to court with your ID, they'll dismiss it, and you have to pay a $10 dismissal fee. Everything about this was given non-dangerous, non-threatening. The only reason the officer was in fear of his life was because he caused the circumstances to create the situation that put him at a risk of severe bodily harm or death. So I think that's going to apply to use of force situations across the board. And if it does, our individual who was in the corner store, we aren't going to look at, well, did they pull a gun on him? We got to look at the totality of the circumstances. These guys came in the store. Were they armed? Did he see the firearm on him? Did he notice the firearm on him? Did he have any history with these young men, or did he know of their reputation in the neighborhood for having gunplay? The criminal charges warrant that. So it all kind of tied in. I think that one was a case that the Supreme Court actually got right, and clearly, because it was a 9-0 opinion. But that was the Supreme Court case. You can't limit a use of force incident to the seconds before and after the shooting. You got to look at the totality of the circumstances to be able to get the entire picture. Now, for some people who don't like foreplay and just like to get in to the main story and just like to and go ahead and get into it, let's go ahead and get into the main story for the people who don't like the foreplay. For the people who like the foreplay, hey, y'all ready now. For the people who don't like the foreplay, y'all just like a little ram action. We're going to go ahead and get into this main story. Now, okay, I'm going to be objective in this story, okay? I actually was like, you know what? Before I talk about this story, because I got some threats, I said, you know what? Let me take a look at this person's record. Because, hey, we aren't going to just look at what happened in the indictment, let's talk about what happened before and what happened after. And to be fair, people who are indicted, people who do stupid things or are alleged to have done stupid things, we do stupid things all the time. All of us have. It doesn't necessarily negate all of the good stuff that we've done, right? Sometimes shit just happens. A bad decision may be made. These are all just allegations. It's just an indictment. But let's go ahead. We're going to watch the news story. We're going to watch the news story on this first. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into the indictment on this. And if anybody is watching this from the great state of North Carolina, from Charlotte, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Drop a NC in the chat or something like that. Let's talk about what's going on with this councilwoman.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Megan Bragg for Ben. And I'm Lisa Washington. Charlotte District 3 Councilmember Tijuana Brown has been indicted on federal charges. This is breaking news into our newsroom just moments ago. The Department of Justice released information claiming that Brown, along with her daughters, allegedly defrauded COVID relief programs to obtain more than $124,000 in pandemic aid.
Now, I will tell you one thing that jumps out to me just in this few seconds we watched already. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It can be looked at two ways. One is actually crazy work to allegedly commit a crime and have your children involved in that crime. Okay. And you can look at that both ways. You can look at it as being crazy work, or you can look at it and say, why would somebody actually commit this crime and then also have their daughters tied up in it? So was it something that was a good faith mistake? I don't know. But it's wild to be indicted for something and your children to also be in the indictment with you. That's kind of wild. Again, even though these are just allegations.
The indictment claims they filed at least 15 fraudulent loan applications between April of 2020 and September of 2021 using fake tax forms and false documentation.
All right, fake tax forms and false documentations. I've been down this road before, investigating, prosecuting people who defrauded government programs and who've done these type of things, and false statement by omitting or misrepresenting a material fact. And if the fact is material, well, the question they ask is, would we have given you these benefits had you not falsified A or B? And if the answer is yes, is not a material misrepresentation, is no crime. If the answer is no, material misrepresentation, you're going away.
Federal prosecutors say that money was used for personal spending, including $15,000 for a birthday party for Brown. The indictment includes 3 arrest warrants for Brown and her daughters.
That's crazy that her daughters is tied up in this nonsense, regardless of the truthfulness of it or not.
We have confirmed one of those loans, more than $20,000, was given through the PPP programs registered to Brown. Brown released a statement this morning years ago and have nothing to do with her time on Charlotte City Council. She calls this a deliberate effort to interfere with her reelection. She added, quote, "I trust in the legal process and am confident that the..."
Okay, one, Councilmember Brown, news, y'all should keep using this picture right here. All the other pictures y'all use this picture right here. I don't know if this is a picture from the $15,000 party or that, but use this picture right here moving forward. That's the only picture I want to see of Tijuana Brown. I'm just letting y'all know. Oh, it is what it is.
The truth will come to light. She tells WCNC Charlotte she has no intention of resigning and plans to fight the charges because she is innocent. Now, she is expected to speak live any minute now about these allegations. This is a live look there in Uptown, where this news conference is expected to begin momentarily. Of course, we will bring you her comments live as they happen right here on WCNC.
Now, okay, I will tell you, I have looked at her comments, some of the things that she said. She asserts that it was the funds that she received from the PPP funds, she actually repaid those funds back when she found out that there was some type of misrepresentation. She asserts it was $20,000 or $25,000. She said no one asked her to pay those monies back. She just did it unilaterally on her own when she identified that there was a potential misrepresentation or something error was made potentially in the paperwork. Now, I will tell you, paying back those things are the easiest way to make them go away. I've had cases, similar type of programs, people finesse money, again, these are allegations, and the people who pay it back, nobody. Who's going to prosecute that case? Not saying they can't, they can still prosecute it. Now, if it was a councilwoman and you paid it back, I would probably still prosecute it just because of your position. I mean, it's called fraud and public corruption. This would have both of them in there. So I can see why this would be a juicy case for the prosecutors. But I've had cases where people had conduct that looked criminal, $50,000, $60,000, $90,000, and they have a conversation with an agent and they immediately cut a check to the Department of Treasury. And once they pay back the money, the prosecutors are like, well, they paid back the money. Nobody really want to prosecute the case where the loss amount is zero. I mean, when you talk about dollar for dollar losses. So paying it back is probably smart. If someone defrauded PPP and they called me and was like, yo, what advice would you give me? I'd be like, yo, did you blow all the money? If not, write a check back to Treasury immediately and hold on to the receipt. So definitely not a terrible thing. Now let's go ahead, jump into this indictment and get right to the main event and skip all the. Next time we're gonna skip the foreplay for a certain host, for certain people in the chat room. We're just gonna jump right in. I ain't gonna say nothing. Soon as the intro finished, I'm gonna start reading the indictment. All right, United States of America versus Tijuana Brown. Is that Tahime Brown and Antoinette Rouse? I hope I said her name right. I never heard it. In the United States District Court for the Western District of North Carolina, Charlotte Division. Grand jury charges. Now, these are allegations, but the things that they put in this allegations and this indictment are things that they clearly can prove. Nobody's just putting shit they can't prove in an indictment. It does happen, but very rarely. So let's go through this, and just based on this, we're going to talk about, one, based on this indictment, how difficult of a burden it would be to actually find that these persons had committed a crime of, in particular, wire fraud. Wire fraud has a 20-year max sentence, and it is one of the easiest charges to get evidence that a person has done on. It is what it is. Wire fraud is the easy one. That's why law enforcement officers love it. All right, Tijuana Brown, Tahima Brown, and Antoinette Rouse, the defendants, were full-time or part-time residents of Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, within the Western District of North Carolina. Tijuana Brown was the mother of Tahima Brown and Antoinette Rouse. Between April 2020 and September 2021, oh, just a note, she did mention that, she didn't use the exact words, politically motivated, but there were phrases that would allude to that. This investigation was actually an inherited case from the U.S. attorney who was appointed by President Biden. I'm just saying that just to lay it out there because, hey, they brought it up. So since they brought it up, I'm going to talk about it. But this investigation started long before the Trump administration put their persons into play in this office. This was a case that they inherited. All right. Between April 2020 and September 21, Tijuana Brown, Tahima Brown, and Antoinette Rouse conspired to execute a wire fraud scheme to defraud the Small Business Administration Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and its Paycheck Protection Program to obtain COVID-19 pandemic fund release through the submission of loan applications containing false information or false documentation. The false documentation generally included fake and fraudulent tax forms that lied about the gross income, number of employees, among other misrepresentations. If those are the facts, again, we don't know. I don't know, maybe someone else did it, but if those are the facts, those aren't good facts because those are very easy to identify as bullshit documents. Defendants also submitted a false statement for the PPP loan forgiveness. Defendants submitted at least 15 applications for EIDL or PPP funds. The defendant obtained at least $124,165 in funds from their fraudulent EIDL and PPP loans. Defendant used the fraudulently obtained funds, among other things, for personal expenses in violations of the terms of the program. Approximately 1 month after receiving $20,833 in PPP loan proceeds, Tijuana Brown spent approximately $15,000 for a birthday party for herself. All right, the CARES Act and EIDL and PPP. Essentially, this is just the background of what the PPP was. It was the Corona Pandemic Relief Funds created these programs to make sure, I'm just giving y'all a summary, that small businesses did not go under as people were in the house, as people weren't going out. So people were allowed to be able to apply for these funds, get funds to be able to pay their employees, keep the essential operations open, hopefully until things smooth out and the economy kind of got cranked back up. EIDL proceeds could only be used for working capital for the small business to alleviate economic injury caused by the disaster occurring in the month of January 2020 and continuing thereafter. Those funds were issued directly from the Treasury. The other source of the CARES Act was PPP. In order to obtain a PPP loan, a qualifying business submitted a PPP loan application, which was signed by an authorized representative of the business. The PPP application required a business to acknowledge the program rules and make certain affirmative certifications to be eligible to obtain PPP loans. In the PPP application, the small business agency was required to provide, among other things, the small business was required to provide, amongst other things, its average monthly payroll expense and the number of employees. These figures were used to calculate the amount of money the small business was eligible to receive under the PPP. All right, fraudulent applications submitted by the defendant. And that was a normal scheme. Like you would see during the pandemic relief, people would start a business, literally create their LLC 2 weeks ago, apply for a PPP loan and say, hey, I have 50 employees and the average in wages that I pay per month is $50,000. Then they would get a check for whatever, $300,000, $600,000, $1 million, however much they needed to satisfy that payroll obligation. All right, fraudulent EIDL application submitted by the defendant. Let's see how ridiculous this is or isn't. All right, on or about June 25th, 2020, Tijuana Brown submitted and caused to be submitted an EIDL application 6408 to the Small Business Association via an online submission in the name of a sole proprietorship business in the name of Tijuana Brown. That's interesting. It's a sole proprietorship. Any business that's a sole proprietorship looking for government funds, I'm looking at sketch already. In the application, Tijuana Brown falsely represented that her business was a personal services business with 11 employees and $14,300 in gross revenues from 2019 that had operated since May 24th of 2018. All right, in the application, Tijuana Brown provided a social security number of a third party, but certified under penalty of perjury that the information in the EIDL application was correct and that she would use the funds as directed by the program. The SBA rejected this loan application. All right, just because it got rejected, that's still a crime. Again, false statements, material misrepresentation. Even if the government catches it and says this is BS, we aren't giving you no money, you still submitted the application with the false statement. All right. On or about June 25th, 2020, approximately 13 minutes after, the EIDL application 6408 was submitted to the SBA, Tahima Brown submitted and called to be submitted EIDL application 8889 to the SBA via online submission in the name of a sole proprietorship business in the name of Tahima Brown. In the application, Tahima Brown falsely represented that her business was a personal services business with 11 employees, with 11 employees and $14,300 in gross revenues from 2019. All right, I'm just saying, I'm just talking about the indictment. Hey, to be fair, let's just keep it a buck. 30 years ago, Tijuana Brown spent some time in custody for fraud. Since then, she has turned things around. She was an advocate, and she was actually a strong proponent for women's rights, even arguing for women's rights because women, according to her, were receiving unfair treatment compared to their male counterparts while they were in custody. I had to put that out there before I talk about how stupid this was. Now, this is actually foolish if mother and daughter submitted an application 13 minutes apart asserting the same type of information. Big ass red flag. Okay. All right. The EIDL application 6408 and 8889 falsely represented that each business had the same address, the same number of employees, the same 2019 gross revenue, and the same business description, despite purporting to be two different businesses. Tahima Brown certified under penalty of perjury that the information in the EIDL application was correct and that she would use the funds as directed by the program. Upon receipt of the EIDL application, the SBA approved the $10,000 advance on the loan application. On or about June 30th, 2020, the SBA wired $10,000 to a bank account in the name of Tahima Brown ending in 2364 pursuant to her EIDL application. Okay, so interesting. They let one fly with the daughter. They caught moms and didn't let moms fly. Now, again, absolutely terrible that it's a sole proprietorship because those automatically draw red flags for me as somebody who did this type of fraud for 5-6 years. It automatically raises a red flag to me. The fact that everything is the same and they actually have the same type of business services being offered, red flag. The fact that you would have, I don't know, maybe your daughter unilaterally submitted the application on their own. I would love to see if the applications came from the same IP address. See, these are the little things that they need to loop together to piece it up for me. Because the way I'm reading this, how I read it, I'm assuming that they were in the same place, same facility, submitted application A for mom, then daughter submitted application B. Now, what was the wire fraud? The wire fraud here is using wired telecommunications, internet, phone, any electronic means of communication to facilitate a fraud to get some type of compensation or something for value. Here is the submission of the application. It's the transfer of the funds. Each instant is a different count of wire fraud. So they probably went light on what they could have potentially charged just as the accounts of wire fraud. All right, on about June 26th, the day after the EIDL application 6408 and 8889 were submitted, Antoinette Rouse submitted and called to be submitted an EIDL application 2483 to the SBA via an online submission in the name of a sole proprietorship. Credit to her, at least she waited 24 hours, right? She allegedly tried to make things a little bit different. All right. It was in a sole proprietorship in the name of Antoinette Rouse. In the application, Rouse falsely represented that her business was a personal services business with 12 employees and $11,300 in gross revenue from 2019, and had operated since April 16th of 2018. at the same address as the prior applications. Antoinette Rouse certified on the penalty of perjury that everything was true and correct. On or about the 30th, the SBA wired $10,000 to a bank account in the name of Rouse, pursuant to her application. On July 2nd, 2020, this EIDL application was rejected by the SBA due to failure to substantiate an economic injury. EIDL applications 6408, 8889, and 2483 were all submitted. Oh, shout out to them for doing their job. Were all submitted to the SBA from the same IP address. Sorry, counselor, whoever wrote this, y'all tied it in nicely. I was like, whoa, wait, did they all come from the same IP address? So, hey, shout out to them for tying that loose end, because I had some questions and y'all gave me answers. That's funny. I look nervous, do I? Nah, I ain't nervous. I'm just tired. How do you think they were tipped off to investigate? I mean, I don't think it was a tip. It didn't have to be a tip at all. Like, I'm gonna be honest, as stupid as these allegations were, most agencies use data mining. They use data mining to identify anomalies, and then when they identify anomalies, they look at that anomaly. So if I were a brand new person to data analytics, the very first thing I would do is, let me pull out of all the applications. I want every application that was submitted within 24 hours from the same IP address. And that would be the first thing. So this elementary stuff doesn't necessarily have to come from a tip, in my personal opinion. Now, it could have came from a tip, but no, they have an entire unit. The minute those programs were created, the government also created SIGPER, the Special Inspector General for Pandemic Relief. This is agents, auditors, attorneys, support staff, and their sole job is to look at people who are committing fraud through pandemic relief, and they're using data analytics to do it. So it could have been a tip. It could have not been a tip. If it wasn't a tip from an actual person, this would be elementary day one analytics, easy as fuck to find. It's like when I was doing healthcare fraud, data analytics, I would say, okay, let's see. I want the 10 highest billed, I want the 10 healthcare providers who billed the highest for Medicaid over the last 2 years. And then I want to take that list, and I also want to run that list against the 10 highest providers who billed to Medicaid. But I want to know instead of what they billed, because I already know the 10 highest billers to Medicaid, I want to look at the 10 highest providers who provided the most Suboxone, the most oxycodone. And now I got a list of, these are the top 10 last year who provided the most oxycodone. These are the top 10 last year of people who got the most Medicaid money from the government. Now, let me take a look at this list and see who names cross up. Okay, this person D, E, and F, okay, they the numbers 1, 2, and 3 and providing Suboxone and oxycodone, and they also billed the most to Medicaid. So I don't know if it's necessarily a tip. You let me know. Do y'all think, was it a tip off? I think just the nature of the application and how, let's just be honest, elementary, stupid the application process was. This is something that's very easy for the analytics to pick up. All applications coming from the same IP address within a 24-hour period that were accepted or rejected. Then they would break that out. Once it's coming from the same IP address, they'll probably look at last names to see who has the same last name. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily a tip-off. I think it was just an easy thing to dig through and find. Just how the applications were so in sync, so familiar. Give me all the applications where the number of employees, the IP address, and the gross revenues for the company from the previous year were all the same. Boop, 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 boop. They just gonna get a list of shit that just pop up. All right. So they all came from the same IP address. So far, hey, not looking good. On or about August 31st, 2020, defendants submitted and caused to be submitted another EIDL application, 1392, to the Small Business Association via online submission. Sole proprietorship, business name was Stephanie Brown. In the application, defendant falsely represented that the business was a health services business with 5 employees and $134,000 in gross revenue from 2019, that it operated since March 3rd of 2017 at the same address as the 3 prior applications. Let me pull up all the applications that came from the same address, that list the same address and the same IP address. I mean, these applications would have jumped out like on your desk immediately. All right, they were all at the same address as the 3 prior applications. The Stephanie was the middle name of Tahima Brown. Really? That's what we doing? Stephanie was the middle name of Tahima Brown. On the EIDL application 1392, in the name Stephanie Brown, defendants provided Tahima Brown's social security number, Tahima Brown bank account ending in 2364, and Tijuana's Brown phone number. Defendants certified as Stephanie Brown under penalty of perjury that the information in the application was correct and they would use the funds as directed. The SBA rejected this loan application. Hey, shout out to the SBA for catching these easy ones, because these are easy ones, and a lot of them get through the cracks, but these didn't. But that's actually ridiculous. Like, oh, I'm going to put my middle name and last name, but I'm going to put all of my... Come on, bro. Really? This is actually kind of goofy. All right. The next day, on or about September 1st, Tijuana Brown... Oh, my goodness. The next day, on or about the 1st, Tijuana Brown submitted and caused another EIDL application to be submitted online to the SBA. Sole proprietorship, Tijuana Brown name. In the application, she falsely represented that she had a health services business, 8 employees, $142,000 of gross revenue from 2019, that it operated since April 4th of 2018. The information provided for this business by Tijuana Brown in her application was inconsistent with the information provided for the same business in EIDL application 6408. Tijuana Brown certified under penalty of perjury that the information in the application was correct. Of course, the SBA rejected this application. And applications 1392 and 1665 were submitted to the SBA from the same IP address. Same IP address, same business, conflicting information. Good that it got rejected. On or about August 17, 2021, Tahima Brown submitted and caused to be submitted another application, 7105, to the SBA via online submission. Sole proprietorship in her name represented that her business was an entertainment services businesses with 2 employees, $15,000 in gross revenue from 2019, operated since 2017. Tahima Brown certified on the penalty of perjury. SBA rejected this application. All right, so they rejected all the applications. PPP was where they was giving them out like candy, though. EIDL was a little bit more edits in place. All right, Lender One was California-based, a small business lending company. Lender One participated in the SBA's PPP as a lender, and as such was authorized to lend funds to eligible borrowers under the terms of the PPP. On or about April 3rd, 2021, Tahima Brown submitted and caused to be submitted a PPP application number 8703 to Lender One. In the application materials, Tahima Brown falsely stated that she operated a sole proprietor business in her own name that was established in January 1st of 2020. Come on now, bruh. You made the application on the date of the pandemic started popping. All right, which generated $106,000 in gross incomes for 2019. As a part of the application, Tahima Brown submitted and caused to be submitted a fake 2019 IRS Schedule C form for the purported business. The fake Schedule C form was in the name of Tahima Brown under a business name Given Looks by Gemma. The form falsely stated that Giving Looks by Gemma earned $106,000 in gross income receipts. Come on, police, go catch the bad guys. All right. The form falsely stated that Giving Looks by Jenna earned $106,000 in gross receipts and had $10,350 in expenses, resulting in $250 in net profits. This form was fake and it was never filed with the IRS. Yeah, they all gonna be screwed. In her application, Tahima Brown may be worse than Tijuana Brown. They just talking about Tijuana because she is the council member. In her application, Tahima Brown stated that she would use the loan funds to pay payroll costs. Tahima Brown certified under penalty of perjury the information in the application was correct. As a result, Lender 1 wired $20,000 in PPP funds to Tahima Brown to her bank account. On or about August 20, 2021, the SBA reimbursed Lender 1 and forgave Tahima Brown for this loan based on Tahima Brown's false representation under penalty of perjury that she spent $12,500 of the loan on payroll costs for the purported business and compiled with all applicable PPP rules, including those regarding the eligible use of PPP. On the 26th of April, 2021, she submitted and caused to be submitted a second PPP application to Lender 1. The application contained the same false information and false documents as the previous application under the name of Tahima Brown and Giving Looks by Gemma, including the same fake 2019 IRS Schedule C form in the name of Giving Looks by Gemma. In her application, Tahima Brown stated that she would use the loan to pay payroll costs. As a result, the lender wired $20,000 in PPP funds to an account for Tahima Brown. On or about August 24th, the SBA reimbursed Lender 1 and forgave Brown for the loan based on her false representations that she spent $12,500 for payroll costs. All right, Antoinette Rouse, her PPP application. Lender 2 was a Florida-based small business. Lender 2 participated in the SBA PPP lender program. Antoinette Brown, on April 15, 2021, submitted and caused to be submitted a PPP application to Lender 2. In the application, Rouse falsely stated that she operated a sole proprietorship in her own name established on January 1st, 2019, which generated $106 in gross incomes. In her application, she submitted a fake 2019, it's probably the same form and everything, a fake 2019 IRS Schedule C form for the purported business. The fake form was in the name of Antoinette Rouse for the business with the same name. The form falsely stated that the business earned $106,000 in gross receipts, had $10,000 in expenses, resulting in $96,250 in net profits. This form was fake as the 2019 Schedule C form submitted for PPP loan under the this form was fake because it was identical to the 2019 Schedule C form that was submitted by Tahima Brown under the business name Giving Looks by Jenna. In her application, Antoinette Rouse stated that she would use the funds to pay payroll. As a result, Lender 2 wired her $20,000, and the SBA reimbursed Lender 2, forgave Rouse's loans because she purportedly used $12,500 for payroll costs. Lender 3, California company, same thing. Antoinette Rouse, under her name, sole proprietorship, penalty of perjury. Lender wired $20,000. Lender was reimbursed by the SBA. Rouse was forgiven because she purportedly spent the same $12,500 on payroll. All right, let's see. I'm sure everything else is the same. Tijuana Brown's application, April 26th. These are all days apart. 2021. Tijuana Brown and her daughter Tahima, they both submitted an application. stating that they operated a sole proprietorship, the same $106,000 in gross revenues. Let's see. Okay. It says here, as part of the application, this is a different business. Tijuana Brown and Tahima Brown submitted and caused to be submitted fake 2019 IRS Schedule C forms for the purported business. The fake Schedule C form was in the name of Tijuana Brown under the business name TC Collection. The form falsely stated that TC Collection earned $106 in gross receipts, $10,000 in expenses, $96,000 in net profits for 2019. This form was identical to the form used under the Given Looks by Gemma application filed solely by Tahima Brown and Antoinette Rouse, respectively, other than business identity information. In the application, Brown and her daughter stated that Tijuana Brown would use the funds for payroll costs. They received $20K. Forgiven, same thing. Okay, long story short, they're screwed. Let's see, count one. Wire fraud conspiracy. Yes, and yes. It's easy. Did they have some type of agreement? Were they acting in some form of concert, taking a substantial step in the furtherance of the alleged scheme, just based on what they're alleging in the indictment? That would be super easy to prove. Super easy to prove. They were probably in the same room filling out these damn applications back to back to back. But yeah, that one's easy to prove. Clearly, it appears that there was some type of agreement between the parties. The wire fraud, once they submitted the bogus information for purposes of receiving compensation for the government, that crime was actually committed. So wire fraud conspiracy, check. Object of the conspiracy, we don't even got to go in that. Yeah, to defraud, they knowingly, intentionally devised the above described scheme to fraud and obtain money and property by means of materially false and fraudulent pretenses. Manner and means. The defendant carried out the conspiracy through the manner and means described in paragraph 1 through 22. Count 2, wire fraud, correct. On or about wire fraud is essentially, like I said, they just using wire communications to do goofy shit to get money that they shouldn't be entitled to. So that's one count of wire fraud, 2 count of wire frauds. Each person got 1 count is what it looks like. Each person got 1 count. No. Tijuana and her daughter got a 2nd count because they filled out a joint application. All right, so I don't know. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news for these people, but yeah. Come on now, don't be trying to tell people how to break the law. I don't know. I think this one is. I think this is an easy case. I don't think this is just me giving my assumption. These are allegations. We'll see what the evidence says, but I've done this. I've literally been sitting there going through people's bank records, going through applications. Actually, I don't like to toot my own horn, but for a lot of these programs, I actually created some pretty cool guidance because normally you pass out the money in one lump sum, and I was like, that's actually a terrible thing to do. Pass out the money in stages. So let's say your business got $40,000 because $10,000 was going to payroll every quarter. Instead of giving you $40,000, we would give you. Normally, they just say, here's the $40,000, do the payroll. You sign this one thing saying, I attest that this information is true, and I won't violate the rules of the program. And then you're done. And I was like, that's actually stupid. What should be done is if you need $10,000 a quarter for payroll, we'll give you $10,000 in quarter 1, and you sign attesting that, hey, this is correct. This is what it's used for. $10,000 in quarter 2. Break that payment up, because the reason you want to break that payment up because every time they sign that statement, Every time they sign that paperwork, that's a false statement. That's one charge. So instead of giving them all at once and just having that one false statement, that one wire charge, if you give it to them over the time of quarters, now you can kind of stack it up a little bit. You can say, okay, they provided a false statement in quarter one, wire fraud for that amount, false statement in quarter two, wire fraud for that amount. Now, hey, I'm not saying it's jacked up. That's just, and honestly, that's actually the best way to do it. Because think about it. It's the best way to do it from a prosecution standpoint, but just as an efficiency standpoint, let's say I need $40,000. I got $10,000 worth of payroll a quarter. Quarter one, and I'm legit. I signed to it. I attest to it. I pay the employees. I'm good. Quarter two, I signed to it and attest to it. Quarter three, I'm like, man, fuck this pandemic stuff. It's too low. People still ain't coming to that restaurant. Nobody going bowling. We losing money at this bowling alley. Let's say I stop the business there. Now, instead of having given out the entire $40,000, if I legitimately stopped it in quarter three, those are funds that they don't have to recapture. They don't got to rely on me to give back because they never gave me those funds. So it actually makes more sense from an efficiency standpoint. But as a prosecutor, it's just a way to level up and add more charges. Hey, you're going to do a quarterly certification. Or it's kind of the same way, like, you ever got unemployment and every week you got to call in and say, I certified that I was looking for a job and I didn't work full time and I had no income. Boop. Every time you certify on that phone, if you capping, that's a false statement. Every time that money deposited to your account after you made that false statement, that's a wire fraud. It's the same type of concept. You want people to affirm that they're doing something over a longer period of time versus just affirming it once and giving them everything that they're entitled to in once. But I don't know. I don't know how good this is going to work out. I think it's going to actually end terribly bad. Generally, indictments end terribly bad. They were indicted for a reason. The grand jury came back with a true bill for a reason. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Was this I don't know. She paid back $20-something thousand, which is what her statement was. Let me see if I can find her statement real quick. I'm gonna see if I can find her statement real quick before we get out of here. But she did say she paid back some funds. I should be talking about this. I saw Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez pop up on the TV, pop up on the computer. Let's see. We're gonna go straight here. There. Let's close that out. Let's see if we can find her commentary. A summary. We're not gonna listen to her whole damn statement. All right, this is a short story. Let's see. I think this should cover it right here. That looks short. Let's see. Share screen.
Charlotte City Council. We have learned Councilwoman Tijuana Brown is now facing federal charges.
The Justice
Nah, they just breaking it all down. I seen her. I'm trying to find her statement without looking at this. Long ass.
Okay, good morning. Today I sit before you as a public servant, a mother, a woman of faith, not broken, not silenced, but resolved. The allegations made against me in the indictment are serious. I take them very seriously. But I will not be tried in the media.
All I heard was the allegations. Normally, I was waiting for her to say those allegations are false. That's the first thing I was like. She didn't say they were false. Okay, I'm just saying. I ain't watched the whole thing. I'm not going to. I'm just saying it's starting out bad. I would rather you just have silence than to give a statement.
I will have my day in court where the truth belongs. But let me be clear. It's an effort to distract from the work I've done, the lives I've touched, and the community I represent.
She said I don't know. She's saying everything, but they aren't true. Yeah, I think she fucked. Pardon my language.
To my District 3 family, I see you, I serve you, I love you, and I will continue to fight for you. My commitment to justice, excellent, 833. When the application was processed, I paid it back. No, in the application, my commitment to justice,
let it play
equity, and second chances remain unshaken. I trust the legal process, and I remain focused on what matters the most to people. Now, when I found out that there may have been some scrutiny in the application, I paid it back. I have one loan, $20,000, 833. $20,000, 833. When the application was processed, I paid it back. No one had to tell me to pay it back.
Now, I'll tell you, that could be completely true. She's asserting that could be completely true. Her problem is you're a council member. I don't really give a damn if you paid it back. Once I got you with these false statements and false documents, I'm going to light your ass up. That's just what it is. That's a sexy case. Normally, I mean, honestly, let's just be a buck. $100,000 is like probably not even worth, it wouldn't even be worth my time for me to look at. But because you're tied into politics, I'm going to look at it. Like, I've actually had cases where I'd be like, $80,000 worth of fraud. I'm like, do we want to go after this? How much work do we actually got to do? If it's too much, we can't waste the resources. Only reason the resources are being wasted here because of her role, and rightfully so.
When I found out that there may have been some stipulations and how the application was processed, I paid it back.
There may have been some stipulations and how the application was processed. What the hell does that mean? I don't even know what that means. There may have been some stipulations, inconsistencies. I don't know.
Now, on the other hand, that's Hillbilly Barbecue that has $1.5 million that never went into the courtroom. They were able to pay it back civilly through a civil matter. Okay? So there's some PPP loans out there that just came up that never touched the courtroom.
Oh my goodness. This is all bad. All that shit you should have just kept to yourself. Because nobody is going to care. Even if it is a valid point. Hell, there are people in Congress who got PPP loans forgiven. And I guarantee you, if somebody dropped their file in front of my desk, I could file some BS on it. But nobody is going to care. And the other thing, when you are accused of doing something and you do this, that actually makes you look even worse. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like calling out someone else's bad behavior because they didn't get treated the same. They were actually able to have a civil remedy. You aren't going to get a civil remedy because you're a politician. I'm putting you in jail. That's what they're going to do. Anybody else, we probably would have used the, what is it called? The PFCRA, Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act. This is actually, if she wasn't a politician, this is actually a perfect case for using a concept called the Program Fraud, Program Fraud, what the hell is it? PFCRA, Program Fraud Civil Recovery Act. Yeah, Program Fraud Civil Recovery Act. It applies in these cases. And agencies haven't used it for years. This law has been on the book for years. When I got there, I think I was the first person to actually use it on a case, because I was like, yo, we had all of these low dollar cases, 100,000, 50,000. And I was like, man, nobody trying to waste all these resources prosecuting this shit is goofy. So I was like, yo, why nobody ever use this Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act? You can use it. You can get 2 times the damages back. It's a great way to recoup money and not waste a lot of resources. She would have been a great candidate for PFCRA if she worked at, I don't know, if she worked at Netflix or something, or if she worked anywhere. If she worked at Forever 21, Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act You owe us twice the amount that you got, and you pay us back. We'll let this go, and we'll waive our right to pursue any criminal charges. The reason they aren't is because the people at Hogs on the Hill, they aren't elected officials. The fraud section of the federal government, they handle fraud and public corruption. One of the two is great, but when you get a case that got both, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. So the comparison thing, I'm not a fan of.
$1 million that never went into the courtroom. They were able to pay it back civilly through a civil matter. Okay? So there's some PPP loans out there that just came up that never touched the courtroom. So if it's about justice and I paid it back, why are we here? Why are we here?
Yeah, she's screwed. And she's screwed because she's never said that the allegations are false, because I believe that she knows they're 100% accurate. That's the reason why she's saying other people got civil remedy treatments. Why can't I? And it's because of your job. I hate to tell you, baby girl, but it's because of your job. If you were doing anything else, you would probably be a candidate. Honestly, they may have not moved forward if you would have paid the funds, or if you paid the funds back.
I paid it back on my own. No one had to tell me to do that. I paid it back.
That was the full 124.
I don't have 124. I paid $20,000 back.
124, I think, is total for all of the co-conspirators.
You're reading an indictment. I just made my statement.
The indictment says that you used those funds on a birthday party.
Was that picture of her that they used? There was a really good picture. Was that at their birthday party? That looked like a birthday fit. Y'all ladies know how y'all be dressing on y'all birthday.
Is that the case?
I paid $20,000 back.
I paid
Did
back.
you originally use the funds that were provided for you for that birthday party?
I paid it back. The funds that I got was $20,000.
All I heard was yes. Did you use the funds for your birthday party? I paid it back. That means yes, but I paid it back. That's all I heard. If y'all heard something different, I'll just tell you what I heard.
$833, and I paid it back.
And Councilmember Brown, it sounds like, are you planning to stay on council?
Why would I resign?
No,
I haven't been.
It's not politically motivated. If it was politically motivated, that was saying, like, it's not politically motivated. Was Eric Adams' indictment politically motivated? Whether it was or wasn't is irrelevant if you did some goofy shit to justify an indictment. Like, come on. And I say this all the time. Like, come on. Like, if you've risen to a level where you're a politician, generally, not all the time, but I don't think that this sister is dumb by far. I looked at her background. I was like, oh, this sister isn't dumb by far. You should already know that if you do the same shit that everybody else is doing, your level of scrutiny is going to be much higher. So you have to tread carefully and generally try your best to do the right thing. That's just what it is. I don't know. Maybe she did. I don't know. Did she go to a HBCU? I don't know. That's like the first thing they took. Hey, everybody looking. So if you fuck up, they're going to make an example out of you. I was like, what? Really? Okay. Now I know.
I haven't been convicted of anything. I was elected for the people, by the people. The people would have to remove me out of the seat.
The feds also allege that your daughters were involved with this. Did you fill out any applications on their behalf?
I'm not going to speak on behalf of anybody that's not here.
What do you say to the residents of District 3 who are seeing this in the news? They're well aware of your history. How can they have confidence in your ability to continue to serve and your desire to continue to serve in the future?
My whole platform is based off second chances. It's based off transparency and truth. I've did several interviews with you. I always come forward. I'm always accountable. There's nothing to hide. My residents know who I am. They know my history. They know who I am. They know my history. My history is not a secret. I live my life on my history.
You call the attack political. What do you think the motivation is if it's political? Reason for it.
I paid the money back. No one had to tell me to pay it back. If we're seeking justice and I paid back the $20,833, that I'm accountable for.
Why she got this wrestler sitting next to her? Is that her husband or something? Like they should zoom the camera back in. He shouldn't even be in the shot. That actually make her look. That guy sitting next to her actually make her look more shady. I'm just saying.
Then why are we here?
She
Take
answered
it
my
back.
question.
When I found out,
She said the same shit.
This is not the time for us to try the case.
And the reason I came here today is because I've been very supportive of Ms. Brown. I've paid her thousands of dollars over the years for working with my company. So any insinuation that she took some money from...
Why is she even letting this dude talk? Why are you on here saying that you paid bruh? This is that shit. This is why people go to jail. This is why you shouldn't say anything. This is why you should always have counsel present. I don't know what the nature of their relationship is. I don't care. I just know if I'm representing a politician who is alleged to have defrauded the program, the last thing I want is some big burly black guy saying, hey, I worked with this politician in business and paid her thousands of dollars over the years. And I don't want you saying anything because you think like, yeah, we got a good business relationship. To me, all I heard was, what? Is he on here talking about he gave her kickbacks? Would you pay her thousands of dollars for? Like, this is why you just shut the hell up. Respectfully, shut the hell up and don't make no statements. Have your attorney make your statement, or an alternative, make a statement that was drafted by an attorney and just stand up there and fucking read it off the teleprompter. But yeah, this dude is not helping the situation at all. He's actually making it like extremely worse.
A PPP loan. When she has 3 jobs, she worked for Uber, she worked for Lyft, she worked for American Airlines. So to say that this money that was related to this PPP loan was exclusively used to pay for stuff like that, I personally gave her donations for that. So,
bruh, what are you doing? Like, okay, what? This is. Shut up. Okay, all right. The fact that she has 3 jobs, I had no clue how many jobs she had. I did look up. I was like, how much does a council member in Charlotte make? This would be an interesting thing to know. But I had no clue she had 3 jobs. But the fact that she had 3 jobs, Lyft, Uber, at the airlines, again, I'm just telling y'all what I hear is going to be 2 ways. They're going to say, hey, she has 3 jobs. She always worked for what she had. Why would she steal something? And the other person is going to hear, she got 3 jobs. Oh, she down bad. She's looking for an opportunity to get over. Like him talk about, I personally gave her money for parties. Like, bro, you don't ever want to say that you personally gave a politician money for anything. It could be legitimate campaign contribution for a campaign event, but whatever he's about to say is probably going to be extremely fucking bad. Who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is, but he's awful. She should unfriend him in life immediately.
So, you know, the last thing I want to say is I come here today to support her because we're talking about something that happened during a time when everyone was filing these loans, right? And the only mistake that she made was she didn't scrutinize it the way that she should have scrutinized it. And once she became aware, once they made her aware, I'm going to say that. She didn't say it, I said it. Once they made her aware that it was some problems, just like you coming and questioning right now, when she was questioned about it, she paid it back.
He just said the opposite of what she had. She said, I just paid it that. Nobody told me to. And he pretty much is saying this guy's
no questions asked because she accepted
responsibility. He might be
of
the
the fact that she did not scrutinize the application the way she did. She didn't fill out the application.
Dude, he might be the feds.
So the fact that she didn't fill out the application and there were some things that may have been put on that may not have been correct, she's not saying I'm saying. The reality is that this was 5 years before she ever thought about running for office. So today she's staying here as a person that did more than he or Billy Bob could ever done. That company that didn't get indicted, right? She paid it back. What justice is to seek to get the money back?
Black people, stop letting other black people people in general, but especially this guy. Anybody who wearing glasses inside should not be saying anything for you related to any legal situation. I don't give a damn if you're in traffic court. If you are in a building and a man has on a cap inside and sunglasses, that Negro should not be saying anything on your behalf. He don't even got enough common sense to take his hat and his sunglasses off inside. I don't know. Maybe he just had LASIK surgery. I don't know. But this is giving absolute buffoonery and ridiculousness.
The other company, they sitting over here, and it has. I don't care about the politics or none of that. We talking about people's lives, and to sit here and do an attack on this black woman right here, who paid it back. That's what we want, right?
The fact that these, and I think that's your point. Let me read that comment. Okay, he's a community activist who does a lot for reentry. That's exactly who he presents like too. It's given what is his name? Big U. He reminds me of Big U. Not saying he's a criminal allegedly, like Big U allegedly is, but yeah, I can see that. I can see he was a community activist who does a lot for reentry. These alleged acts occurred before she got in office. Don't really care when they occur. You're the politician. You're the politician. Once you're the politician, you are a public figure. But this dude needs to be quiet. Like this dude with his hat on, with his glasses on. Everybody else in there. Did y'all see when the camera zoomed out? The camera zoomed out everywhere. The camera zoomed out. Everybody else had on a button-up collar shirt. Everybody else dressed nice except for this dude. Everybody else. Like, this is actually her fault. You have to be able to read the room. If there's cameras in there, we talk about a legal matter. Everybody else is dressed up with a collar on, and this dude's sitting there with a hat on and sunglasses on, inside in front of damn law books. And that's like, nah, bro. Just go ahead, stand on the side, and you just look like security, but do not open your mouth unless you got to sneeze. That's literally the advice that should have been given.
When you go to somebody and you say, hey,
oh my God,
this right here,
what does he got in his hand? Oh my God. And now he about to put us an exhibit forward, bro.
Wait, right? We need you to pay this back, right? Everybody has the opportunity. IRS has a way to pay that back on their website, right? So you pay it back.
This guy is crazy.
Now tell me one person who have paid it back that got indicted other than Tijuana Brown. You won't find it. Because the fact of the matter is there are people.
Okay, real quick to his point. I don't know necessarily for PPP, but I've seen situations where people pay it back, have paid it back. The money that was ill-gotten gains from a government program and still get prosecuted. Does it happen often? No. Does it happen? Yes. I mean, yeah, it happens. It's just extremely rare. That's point number one. The other thing is there's this whole thing called prosecutorial discretion. I'm not wasting my resources to prosecute somebody. An elected official has, this is in my opinion, y'all may disagree. If you're an elected official, I think that the duty of care that you have, especially when it comes to government resources, be it state, federal, local, is higher. The expectation for a politician is that, hey, you're a politician. You should be held to a higher standard. We expect more from you. Now, again, politicians are people too and are corrupt, but there is an expectation that politicians are held to a higher standard. That's why all of this is going down, guy. I want to know what he got in his hand. He got evidence and everything.
Who have strategically planned to do this. Did they tell the grand jury that she paid it back? We don't know, but they sure didn't tell you. It's sure not in this indictment right here that she paid it back.
and this is just because he doesn't understand the law. Why would the grand jury need to know that it was paid back? That would be like it's a mitigating factor maybe to a crime that was committed. No, that's not the prosecution's job to talk about what the mitigating factors were in the indictment. So all he holding up is the indictment. Okay, I had enough of this dude. I could actually go through this. I hope he stopped talking soon. Okay, they stopped him. They stopped him. Hold on. Why the camera go on the white guy? Wait, the camera went on the white guy. Let me see what that was about.
Yeah, I was starting a new business.
The
Business-
TCC collection.
TC
let's
swimwear.
let's not get into the specifics too much. We don't want to give our entire playbook.
All right, that's her lawyer, I guess, who's like, don't go into specifics. He's doing a terrible job at this whole public relations thing. He might be nice when it comes to the argument side. He might be a mean litigator, but on this PR stuff, bruh, he's straight trash.
We're getting ready for trial.
What's the timeline? Do we know what happens next in terms of the trial?
Not yet. That'll be a schedule that'll be set. The indictment was just released this morning, so there'll be an initial appearance, and we'll be pleading not guilty at the initial appearance. Tomorrow.
Absolutely, 110%.
Initial appearance tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
I would ask that the U.S. attorney, and I'm making this request on behalf of the community, give Ms. Brown the same consideration that was given to these
Hillbilly
companies.
barbecue.
Yeah, hillbilly.
Man, if they don't stop talking about these barbecue people. All right, I can't with this guy. This guy annoying me. All right. All right. So how is this gonna play out? If she goes to trial, let me get my gavel ready. I'm gonna just start beating the table. See, hey, guilty. Yeah, yo. Do not go to trial, sister. Don't do it. Do not go to trial. It's going to be a spectacle. That guy going to be out there in front of the courthouse with his glasses on and his hat. Rightfully so, because he's outside of the courthouse. But don't go to trial on this. These facts look really, really bad. Low key, I'm going to tell you right now. This is what I would do. This is just me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Tijuana Brown's household. I don't know. But if this was me and my kids were caught up in this, I'd take a plea right now if y'all left them the hell alone. That's what I would do. That's just me and my kids. I don't know what relationship she got with her kids. I don't know if that's an option. But I real talk, if it's me, if that were me and like, oh man, my kids ain't got no records. If they ain't got no records, they got an actual bright future ahead of them. Them eating this will really screw them over. I'd be like, yo, I'll go ahead and take a plea. Give me a deal that we could work with, and I'm willing to take this deal in exchange for dropping the charges against them. Do y'all think that's something y'all would do? Would y'all actually do that? If these are allegations, but if you were caught up and you had an indictment, fraud charges, and it's you and your two children are named in the indictment. Being in an indictment with your child is ridiculous. Y'all named in the indictment. Would you take a plea in exchange for them dismissing the charges? Let's see. She got wire fraud, conspiracy. Let's say they say, yo, we'll give you, let's start a number that's a difficult number. Any number locked up is a difficult number. Hey, any number is difficult. But what if they say, okay, well, we'll make this easy on you. You 5 years. You do 5 years. You take a plea for 5 years. We'll dismiss the charges against your daughter, and that's the agreement. Would you take it? I don't know, man. To give my kids a clean slate. Now, my kids was already fuck up, and they was just fucking up with me because I'm a fuck up, and we collective fuck ups. Everybody may have to eat their fuck ups on their own. But if it were my kids, I'm gonna be like, jury nullification. I don't see it. I don't see. What would be the? I don't see that would be. Let me think. Jury nullification. I don't know. I don't know. I think they're going to be able to, like, in order to get a jury nullification, she would have to have a juror who is the equivalent of the dude who was sitting beside her with the glasses on and the hat. I don't see that happening. I mean, it might is a possibility, but I'd be shocked. The system was designed to keep her in the system. Was it? I don't know. Hey, you may be more. You may have your ear to the ground more than me, but I don't know. Was the system designed to keep her? I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know if the system was designed solely for Tijuana Brown per se. Yes, the system is flawed, but the system is a machine. It is a beast, and it requires to be fed. It requires a sacrifice, and the best way to not feed the machine is don't do stupid shit to make yourself look like a steak. And I think that she and her daughters did something that was very stupid. I think it was very obvious. I think it's not going to play out well for a jury. I don't know if you can. I actually think, and these are two separate cases, but if you got these facts in front of me versus the facts for the guy who was involved in the shooting in the Philadelphia market, that's actually a better case. I would much rather defend that case than this case. I would much rather defend that position than this position here because they don't have a defense. Their defense is they pointing at Hillbilly Joe. Hillbilly Joe like, well, I'm catching strays. I ain't even, why are you making it about me? I don't know. I don't disagree with that. Justice involved people have justice involved people have no shot at financial success. I mean, I don't know. I know the justice system is flawed. I know that finances impact everybody differently, and everybody has different circumstances. But I don't know. Like, I'm not as well as my guy. Shout out to Anton Daniels, the Victim Olympics. I don't really like to run in the Victim Olympics. Like, I've seen too many times where people grow up in jacked up circumstances and they actually accomplish shit and do it the right way. How do I see this? Because I know I got a brother who's not here, who died from gun violence, who was in the streets. Same household, same parents, same motherfucking situation, same everything. It's all about you got to take some ownership of some of the things that go on. Even though I'm not saying the system is I'm not saying the system is a perfect system. I'm not saying it is not rigged, but I am saying that there's some individual accountability for things that go on and some things we can do to avoid some shit. That's all I'm saying. We're gonna see how things. Oh man, they gotta call me. Come on now, I'm mad. Come on now. Okay, y'all read that indictment and was like, nah, she didn't do this. Like, it was so elementary. It wasn't even well thought out. If it was like well thought out and like, oh man, okay, it was a crime, but the way they did it was like smart. This is like, if I gave a how-to on that, how to commit government fraud, it would be this. Don't work with your family members. Don't use the same IP address. Don't submit the same information. Don't start a business that you're using to get benefits a week before you apply for the benefit. I mean, I don't know. I get it. Don't blast the messenger. All right, we'll see how this play out. I'm gonna put a tab on this one. I'm gonna put a star by this case and see how it plays out. But I don't think it's going to be favorable. I understand she probably done great things in her time in office, but hey, I don't know. Just because if I rob a bank and bring the money back, should I not be charged with robbing the bank? Is that the argument we're going to go with? Like, man, I robbed the bank. I did all of this stuff. But then I was like, man, you know what? I gave all the money back, so don't mess with me. The crime was already committed. I don't know. I'm just saying. Hey, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, particularly on Tijuana Brown. Y'all think this is a strong case, a weak case? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to end well for her. I think that would be my way out. I'd take a plea agreement. If my kids aren't fuck ups, I'd be willing to take a plea agreement in exchange for dropping all the charges against my kid. That's what I would do. As a father, that's what I would do. I'm not gonna have my kids who aren't fuck ups on an indictment with me. That's just not an option. It's not gonna happen. I'd go to my attorney immediately the same day. Be like, I'll plead guilty to the shit right now to give them a pass. Because if they got clean records, if they actually got a good shot at life at doing some shit, if they eat a felony, they're gonna be fucked. The only job they're gonna get is running for office, because you can run for office with felonies in some places or something, but it's gonna be hard. A felony is a life-changing thing. So that'd be my way out. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hey, y'all have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy it. Go out and barbecue. I had to fix my grill today. Go out and barbecue. Enjoy your time off. Enjoy the family. Be safe. Be blessed. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.